양지 진불도던 힘이 장존의 문음 진불가 겼다 바그라 다른 찬도 실물도 tumbadirjejanla kivshamtsar mechanrawar saringi jangamsa jawar tukjishanla yilarma jime panzojala sarade gongje topan pawar shinjilo gongje topan pawar shinjilo gongje topan pawar shinjilo.
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we can hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate sentient beings, please generate bodhicitta before today's teaching. Now let us study the Sutra of Great Liberation. In the earlier part of the Sutra of Great Liberation, Prince Virtuous to see and 3,000 others came to praise the Buddha. Earlier, we also taught about the 8 ways to repay the Buddha's kindness. And when the prince and those 3,000 people were praising the Buddha, they recited a section of verses. However, these verses are not found in our Tibetan version. After that, Prince Virtuous to see and the 3,000 people spoke about the enlightened qualities of the Buddha. Right now, we are explaining the Buddha's qualities. Today, we will study the Sutra of Great Liberation. Tomorrow, we will study the Uttaratantra Shastra. As for the day after, we shall see how things progress. I will give it some thought tomorrow and then decide. Looking at our progress with the Sutra of Great Liberation, it might take another 4 or 5 classes to complete. The Uttaratantra Shastra might require about a dozen more sessions. As we have already explained earlier, the Buddha understands all phenomena as clearly as the palm of his hand. Out of compassion for beings, he turns the Dharma wheel through skillful means. We taught that principle before, and today we shall explain. The sages come in such a way, and the Buddha demonstrates this coming. In the true nature and the destination, the Buddha is likewise without difference. The sages speak words of truth, and the Buddha also speaks thus. For this reason, the Buddha is called the Tathagata. Next, we begin explaining the 10 names of the Tathagata. The Buddha has 10 different names. Actually, the Tathagata has many names because the Buddha's qualities are immeasurable. As it is also said in the great treatise on the perfection of wisdom, the Buddha's qualities are immeasurable, and so are his names. Regarding the Buddha's qualities, we introduced some of them earlier. Whether in terms of the Dharmakaya's qualities of total liberation or the Rupakaya's ripening qualities, there are many such qualities. Since the Buddha's qualities are infinite and boundless, his names are also very numerous. Of course, when we summarize these names, we commonly refer to the Buddha's 10 names. Regarding these 10 names of the Buddha, when we pray to the Buddha regularly, it is best to recite all of them if we can. But if we cannot, simply reciting homage to such and such Tathagata is also acceptable. In the past, the biography of Jetsongkhapa mentions that when he first recited the Confession of the 35 Buddhas, he did not recite all 10 names of the Tathagata. As a result, he could only see the upper half of each Buddha's body. Then Manjushri told him, "You need to recite the full names." So he continued to recite the full names. Later, he was able to see the complete bodies of all 35 Buddhas. Of course, in certain schools of Tibetan Buddhism, including when reciting the Confession of the 35 Buddhas, they add the 10 names before each Tathagata's specific name. There are also many schools that directly recite, for example, homage to Kandraprabha Tathagata or homage to such and such Tathagata in that manner. Naturally, different great masters and lineage patriarchs all have their own specific intentions, purposes, and insights. Generally speaking, these names of the Tathagata are frequently mentioned in other sutras and shastras. Some people often find it difficult to explain them well. They wonder why these are all names of the Buddha and why there are these different names. They simply cannot understand it. So in this session, we will explain the Tathagata's 10 names with complete clarity. I hope that as Buddhists, if we cannot even explain the Tathagata's 10 names, we might not be true practitioners, since the Buddha has 10 names. The necessity of these 10 names and the characteristics of each name, if you do not know how to explain them very well, then for us as Buddhists, it might not be entirely appropriate. So in this class, even if you learn nothing else, it is best to memorize the names of the Tathagata without referring to the book. For example, in Tibetan, These are the 10 names we regularly recite, but if we do not pay close attention, some people might not necessarily understand them. They may seem as if they are all the same, but in fact they are different. Today we shall clearly distinguish these 10 names, and everyone here should understand them clearly. First, let us explain Tathagata. Just now we mentioned Tathagata. Tathagata actually means the Tathagata. As it is also stated in the Diamond Sutra, the Tathagata comes from nowhere and goes nowhere, thus he is called Tathagata. Everyone here should understand this clearly. What the Diamond Sutra says is that the so-called Tathagata actually has nothing that comes and nothing that goes. This is called Tathagata. In this context, it means coming in such a way. But what does such refer to? It refers to the true nature of reality as it is. Since the Buddha comes in accordance with that true nature, he is called the Tathagata. Everyone here should know how to explain the term Tathagata. So, what does Tathagata actually mean? As stated here, the way the sages come from, all the sages, including those on the first bhumi and above, or we could say those at the level of Arhat and above, the Buddha also comes in such a way. For all these sages, in whatever manner they come, the Buddha also arrives in that same way. What is the nature of this so-called coming? The true nature and the destination, referring to reality and its goal. The Tibetan version states that the true nature has no coming. This is the meaning. In terms of the true nature and its destination, there is actually no movement. Within the true nature, the Buddha does not depart from one location to arrive at another. The Tathagata does not function in that way. Within the true nature, there is no coming or going. This is just as taught in the root stanzas of the Middle Way, specifically in the chapter examining coming and going. Coming and going are essentially without any actual coming or going. If there is no going within the true nature of reality, then the Buddha is likewise without difference. Within the true nature, there is nothing that can be said to come. This point is proclaimed through the truthful words of all the sages. As for the Buddhas of the 3 times, they have already proclaimed this with Vajra speech and infallible words. Within the true nature of all phenomena, there is no coming or going. The Buddha also speaks in this exact way. Moreover, when the sages speak in this manner, it is essentially the Buddha speaking through them. Not only is himself beyond coming and going, but he also teaches this principle of no coming and no going to all sentient beings. Therefore, the Buddha is known by the name Tathagata. Tathagata translates as the Tathagata. As mentioned in the Great Nirvana Sutra regarding the term Tathagata, all the Tathagatas of the past taught the 12 divisions of teachings and the 6 paramitas, the 37 factors of enlightenment and the 11 types of emptiness. According to the different faculties of beings, they taught the Dharma of the 3 vehicles in the same way. Every Buddha will perform these deeds. Regarding the name Tathagata, it indicates that the Buddhas of the past turn the Dharma wheel for those with karmic connections to liberate them. Every Buddha will manifest in this way. Every Tathagata will arrive in this manner. The explanation found in the Great Nirvana Sutra and the method used in the Sutra of Great Liberation are slightly different, as I recall. In the Great Nirvana Sutra, Tathagata emphasizes how those past Buddhas acted. They all manifested in this specific way. Past Buddhas primarily liberated beings through the Dharma. Every Buddha is like this, so he is called the Tathagata. Alternatively, as explained here, coming and speaking in accord with the true nature of reality. This is what Tathagata means. This is the first of the names. I hope that regarding each of these names, if someone asks you what is a Tathagata and you cannot provide an answer, that would not be very good. Regarding the 10 names of the Tathagata, you can write papers or conduct research on them. You can also contemplate them from this perspective. That was the first one. Now for the second name we have the Arhat or Arhant. The first name Tathagata is Deshin Shekpa in Tibetan. It is Deshin Shekpa in the Tibetan language. Then the Arhat is called Drahompa. What does this signify? It means wearing the armor of patience. With this armor, the mind becomes exceptionally firm. Then with the bow of diligence, one's power becomes remarkably strong. And with the arrow of wisdom, the word sharp should be emphasized as powerful. This means the arrow of wisdom has become extremely sharp and effective. One uses such analogies to describe the destruction of pride. In Tibetan it says laziness, but the meaning is similar, because here the text discusses various forms of pride. In the Tibetan translation, the term laziness is used. It refers to destroying the thief of pride, and thus one becomes worthy to receive all offerings from humans and gods. For this reason, the Buddha is called Arhat. Arhat actually carries two primary meanings. One is foe destroyer, meaning one who slays the enemy. What is this foe? It is the thief of afflictions. The second meaning is one worthy of offerings. Arhat has this connotation. It seems that various versions consistently use the term Arhat. Of course, Arhat is also used in the Tibetan tradition, but Arhat might be a slightly more precise choice here. Why is he called a foe destroyer? Because with the Tathagata's sword of wisdom and the bow and arrow mentioned earlier, what is being destroyed? We mentioned arrogance, laziness, or the thief of mental afflictions. Furthermore, such a Tathagata becomes throughout all the human and divine realms the supreme recipient of offerings from all sentient beings. Therefore, we can also call him one worthy of offerings, or we can refer to him as the foe destroyer. This is the second of the Tathagata's names. We should understand that it refers to the Arhat or Arhat. Why is he called an Arhat? Arhat means foe destroyer, one who destroys the afflictions. And it also carries this particular meaning. The name Arhat or Arhat has this significance. As mentioned, one uses diligence, patience, and wisdom to destroy these obstacles, including the thief of the demon of death. There is also this explanation. This is the second name. The third name is Samyak-sambuddha, Yangdagpar Dzogpesangye in Tibetan. Samyak-sambuddha means the perfectly enlightened one, or we can also say the perfectly and universally enlightened one. This is the third name. Why do we call the Buddha Samyak-sambuddha, or the perfectly enlightened one? Below it is explained in correspondence with the Four Noble Truths. First, perfectly knowing the true nature of suffering. So for the Buddha's wisdom, what does it truly and perfectly understand? It understands the true nature of the suffering of samsara. It understands the truth of suffering. And what else does it truly understand? The cause of this suffering, which is the truth of origin. Karma and afflictions are the causes of our suffering, known as the truth of origin. At the same time, he knows the true nature of the cessation of suffering. Suffering can be completely eliminated through practice. In the end, all suffering can be utterly exhausted. This is called the truth of cessation. The Buddha knows the true nature of cessation. He also knows the path to exhaust suffering. What is the way? It is through cultivating the path. The method is also completely known to him. He understands the truth of the path, truly understanding the Four Noble Truths, which are definite and unchangeable. The Buddha truly understands the Four Noble Truths of suffering, origin, cessation, and path. Moreover, these Four Noble Truths represent the true nature of reality, which is unchangeable. It is not as if their nature would change simply because someone appeared. It is not like that at all. The true nature of all phenomena remains whether a Tathagata appears in the world or not. The natural law of all things cannot be altered. The Tathagata also has complete knowledge of this. This is an eternally unchanging truth. It will not change. It is just like the heat of fire or the moisture of water. As long as we wish to attain liberation through the practice of the Four Noble Truths, we will definitely reach liberation in the end. Only the Buddha truly understands this point. As for others, perhaps in this entire world, even so-called scientists only know a partial reality of suffering. But as for the true cause of suffering and the method to eliminate it, these remain beyond their knowledge. Therefore, throughout the 10 directions, in all the worlds of the 10 directions, the Buddha is titled Samyak. Samyak means right or perfect. Sam means universal or complete. Buddha means the enlightened one. Actually, what we call the perfectly enlightened one, or the Samyak-sambuddha, carries this very meaning. The Buddha is truly such an awakened being. What does this perfect enlightenment entail? Primarily the Four Noble Truths. Thus, for us Buddhists as well, if we fully understand the Four Noble Truths at the core of Buddhism and put them into practice ourselves, we can eventually attain the state of perfect enlightenment. This is the third name of the Buddha. It means the perfectly enlightened one, or the perfectly and completely enlightened one. That is, the Buddha knows the true nature of the Four Noble Truths. Furthermore, these truths were not created by the Buddha. In fact, within this world they are eternally unchanging truths. But as for who can perceive this truth aside from the Buddha, even Arhats and Bodhisattvas cannot know it in the most ultimate way. They cannot understand the most ultimate and profound aspects. This is the third name of the Buddha we are discussing. Over the past few days, I went to several places to teach, so I only returned yesterday. Right now, I still feel as if I am on the plane. What exactly did I just teach? I finished teaching one moment, and in the next, I have completely forgotten. That is my current state. I do not know what kind of state this is. Perhaps when one is quite exhausted, it seems as if I do not even know what I am saying. It is as if I am in a dream. Whether in a dream or an illusion, I have not quite woken up yet. If I fall asleep, please wake me up. Now, the fourth name of the Buddha is Vidyacarana-sampanna. The meaning is what we often call the Bhagavan, or perfect in knowledge and conduct. So what does this mean? Having attained the subtle three wisdoms and possessing pure conduct. Therefore, he is titled Bhagavan, the Vidyacarana-sampanna. What is the significance of the fourth name? Through 3 incalculable eons of study and practice, the Buddha finally attained the extremely subtle 3 wisdoms, the knowledge of past lives, the divine eye, and the knowledge of the exhaustion of defilements. Alternatively, these 3 wisdoms mean that all phenomena of the past, future, and present are completely understood and known through his wisdom. This is because the Buddha has penetrated realities that ordinary people in the world cannot, the truths of the past, present, and future, and the true nature of all phenomena. Moreover, the Buddha's conduct is also exceptionally pure, whether it is the conduct of his body, speech, or mind. He is unlike us worldly people. As we discussed regarding the 18 distinctive qualities, there are 6 qualities specifically related to conduct. Just as described there, his conduct is perfectly pure. For this reason, the epithet of the Bhagavan can be Bhagavan or Chomdende in Tibetan. The recitations of some people sound neither like Tibetan nor Chinese, yet they are remarkably confident. It is the same with prayer wheels. They are not meant to be spun in that way. Shensa lo choda gesen cheo. When reciting certain verses, it is best to observe and listen to yourself a little. Otherwise, while you may feel very confident, many people nearby might be laughing and pointing at you. See, it is just like this. So the term we are using is Chomdende. But what does Chomdende actually mean? In fact, Bhagavan refers to one who has gone beyond the 3 realms of existence. Possessing refers to having the 6 qualities of a Buddha. Destroyed means destroying the demon of death and the afflictions. As for being perfect in knowledge and conduct, it also means Yes, perfect in knowledge and conduct can be explained this way. It means the Buddha possesses the 3 wisdoms. Perfect in conduct means possessing qualities like the 4 bases of miraculous power. The Bhagavan is perfect in knowledge and conduct. Here these two epithets are explained together. The meaning, as just mentioned, is possessing the three wisdoms and perfectly pure conduct. For this reason, he can be called Chomdende, or Vidyacarana-sampanna, which corresponds to the Bhagavan. This should be the fourth name. Then the fifth name is Sugata. Sugata means Dewa Shekpa, the well-gone one, understanding all phenomena and attaining the wonderful path by oneself. In some versions it says going, in other versions it says Dharma. Including the Taisho Tripitaka, certain other versions are slightly different. The meaning is that the Buddha, through his wisdom, fully understands all phenomena of all things. He himself attains and proceeds to the wonderful path, the path that all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have traveled before. He can traverse at will. Going is probably a better choice here, attaining the wonderful path by oneself. He has complete freedom to proceed along the wonderful path. Sometimes he speaks skillfully out of compassion for all. He relies on skillful means to teach. Because he has compassion for all sentient beings, he proclaims these skillful Dharma teachings to them. Through these skillful methods, the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death is eliminated. Finally, he allows these beings to be established in a state of great peace and joy. Therefore, for this reason, the Buddha is called Sugata. When we translate Sugata, it means the well-gone one, as stated in the great treatise on the perfection of wisdom. Su means good or wonderful. Gata means going or speaking. This was also explained previously. Because the Buddha understands all phenomena, he can reach such a path, just like when we talk about a teacher who intends to proceed along the teacher's path. He not only travels it himself, but out of compassion for sentient beings, he also proclaims to them liberation from the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death, so they may finally attain the peaceful path of liberation. So what we call the well-gone one means going wonderfully or going well. Regarding this going well, the Buddha has traveled it himself and also enables sentient beings to reach that state. He has gone there himself and guides sentient beings to reach such a destination as well. So this is the well-gone one, the Buddha's fifth name. The ga in Shuga is sometimes pronounced Jia or Kie, but I believe it is mostly Jia, although this is a character with multiple pronunciations for many Sanskrit words from India in Chinese. When their sounds are transliterated, it is better to pronounce it as Jia. Many people read it as Lengjie Sutra, but in fact it should be Lengjia Sutra. Why do we say this? Because the mountain where he taught the Dharma is called Lanka. Why is it called the Lankavatara Sutra? Because it was taught on Mount Lanka, hence the Lankavatara Sutra. In Tibetan, the sound is Ga. We have many ga sounds in Tibetan. In Sanskrit, it corresponds to jia. For example, yoga is transliterated as yujia, namo buddhaya, namo dharmaya, namo sanghaya, sanghaya, which is also pronounced sangjaya. I believe that when we recite it, it is better to use the ga sound. I have observed that in Indian Pali, namo buddhaya, namo dharmaya, namo sanghaya, they often recite it using the ga sound. They do not say namo sankhyeya. They do not recite it that way. So I think perhaps in Chinese-speaking regions, they often say Lengjie Sutra, Yukye, or Sankhye. All of these should probably be pronounced directly with the jia sound, because in Tibetan they are all ga. Yoga, langa, many words use the ga sound. So if it is ga, when Indian Sanskrit is recited today, it is frequently pronounced as sangaya. Therefore, the Kuyai pronunciation might not necessarily be correct, but perhaps they have other reasons for it. So, regarding this epithet, well-gone one, the Buddha truly possesses such immense compassion. Wow. He has great compassion for these pitiable sentient beings. As we all know, the Buddha's wisdom is evident in every respect. He is always thinking of all beings. When we reflect on it, sentient beings are truly pitiable, no matter where they are in samsara. Among all of us sitting here, perhaps it is not very obvious right now. but the causes of suffering are present in our mind streams. This is called the suffering of conditioning, because the causes from a previous moment can ripen into suffering in the next moment. This is known as the suffering of conditioning. So whether you can detect it within your body or whether you cannot, sentient beings are actually still in deep suffering. The Buddha's wisdom is always watching over us. If we can truly pray with devotion, then the Buddha's blessing and wisdom will definitely descend. It is just like when we pray to the Dharma protectors. If we call out, they will come. If we request them, they will descend. It is the same when we recite prayers to the protectors. Thus, an auspicious connection is needed here as well. Today, I am having everyone recite the prayers to Tara. If we pray to Tara with sincere hearts, or pray to Avalokiteshvara and Guru Padmasambhava, then our wishes can be accomplished. If we do not pray, or if we do not pray with devotion, even though the Buddha has such inconceivable wisdom and power, his help might not manifest swiftly without that connection from our side. So we always need to practice in this way. Especially recently, it is very important for everyone to pray to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Just look at the news now. Many events domestically and internationally are deeply concerning. Some experts say this is closely related to global warming. This is a closely linked factor. Indeed, over hundreds or thousands of years, some extremely rare natural disasters have occurred, including the heavy rain in Zhengzhou, Henan this time. It has affected the entire infrastructure, impacting thousands, even millions of people. It has become a historic disaster. It is not only happening in our regions. I saw that in Western Germany, there have also been particularly severe floods. It seems that many houses have already been submerged in muddy water. All communications have been completely cut off. Many people are missing or have lost contact. It is very pitiful. Recently, there has also been unrest in South Africa. In some places there, normally, especially in certain developing countries, many complaints are hidden in people's hearts. This pandemic has also severely affected everyone's lives. In the end, people came out and started looting and destroying property. All kinds of things are happening, including in Cuba. A while ago in Russia, something historically unprecedented occurred. Temperatures reached as high as 47 to 50 degrees Celsius. Canada, which is normally quite a moist place, became especially dry, leading to forest fires. And in India, just a few days ago, lightning strikes killed dozens of people. When you look at the world today, it seems the entire globe is in an uncertain state. Every natural disaster is extremely harmful. In many ways, we feel helpless. Therefore, for all of us, including everyone here, even if we are not facing major flood disasters, we should remain vigilant at all times. Landslides and various emergency responses are also things we must pay attention to. Sometimes when we have heavy rain, indeed, it can be quite serious. I have also been reflecting on this over the past few years. In the past, these mountains never had any problems, but now in the places where we travel back and forth, and recently throughout Sirthar, things have changed. I have been coming here for about 30-some years, and I have never seen anything like it. The river in Sirthar rose so high that we were helpless. Once, when I was returning, there was no way through. The car was in the river and almost, well, you know. So sometimes it is true that our lives are very fragile, especially nowadays. Today you are alive and perfectly healthy, but tomorrow, who knows, there could be a car accident or some kind of natural disaster. These natural disasters can be completely unexpected. Some very incredible things will happen. So during such times, I think that on one hand, we should pray to Tara, Avalokiteshvara, and Ksitigarbha to rescue these pitiable beings. Seeing the floods in Zhengzhou truly makes one's heart ache. It is deeply distressing. Everyone should be aware of this. What we can do now is perhaps focus on these practices. Let's all recite the prayer to Tara together today. Tarita Taritari Swam Tatum Tarita Tarisum Tarita Taritari Swam 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 Tarita Tarita Taritari Swam Tarita Taritari Swam Tarita Taritari Swam Tarita Taritari Tarita Taritari Swam Tarita Taritari Swam Tarita Taritari Swam Tarita Taritari
Dari Tari Tari Som Dari Dari Tari Tari Suha Ahom Badran Garapa Masardom 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 Ahom Badran Garapa Ahom Badran Garapa Masardom Ahom Badran Garapa Masardom Ahom Badran Garapa Masardom Ahom Badran Garapa Masardom Mahom Badran Garapa Masarda Umarna Pamel 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 Umarna Pamel
Okay, now everyone, please dedicate the merit. Lately, everyone should also recite these prayers more often and pray to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Indeed, this Saha world, especially now, is filled with layer upon layer of disasters. Everyone should clearly understand this from various perspectives. Also, the situation in Myanmar has been particularly terrible recently, with all kinds of difficult situations occurring. The pandemic is also very difficult to control. Many countries are facing this. Perhaps it is because beings have recklessly destroyed the lives of other beings. At the same time, our desires are enormous. This includes everyone. It is not just about obtaining enough material things to use. People want to occupy and destroy even more. Think about the disposable materials we use now. The destructiveness is severe and arguably unprecedented. Because the desires of beings are growing ever larger, our behavior is becoming increasingly violent. If this continues, perhaps nature is striking back at us, or we could say it is nature's revenge against us. So on one hand, humanity should reflect on our own evil actions and evil minds. We must examine ourselves in this regard. As Buddhists, we should try not to destroy nature and strive to reduce our desires. One must use what is needed for food, clothing, and drink. But there is no need to occupy things excessively or with a selfish mind to monopolize or waste resources. If we act like this, beings will eventually reap what they have sown. In the end, who knows what will happen? This is just a reflection. We should also frequently pray to the Tathagata, the well-gone one. Now let us discuss the sixth name of the Buddha, knower of the world. In Tibetan, we call it Jigten Khenpa. Previously it was Dewa Shekpa, and now it is Jigten Khenpa. He knows how the world arises and the path to its cessation. The Buddha knows how this world came into being. He knows the nature of the world, how it originated, and he also knows the future limit of the world, what its ultimate boundary is like. Only the Buddha knows this truth. In the worldly realm, so-called astronomers and scientists might understand certain aspects of the current situation. But in truth, the only one who fully knows the beginning and the end is the Buddha. This includes knowing the truth of the whole world from both ultimate and conventional perspectives. Therefore, for this reason, the Buddha is called Lokavid. Loka means world, as we say, Namo Lokaya, Namo Lokeshvaraya. In the beginning of the 37 practices of a bodhisattva, there is homage to Avalokiteshvara, sovereign of the world. Loka means world. Vid means to understand or to know. So the Buddha can understand the beginning and the end of the world as well as its entire truth. This is what it means. Also, the Buddha knows who is a sentient being and who is not, what is transcendent and what is worldly, and the nature of suffering, emptiness, and no self. Thus, he is called the knower of the world. In fact, the 10 names of the Buddha are all explained in the great treatise on the perfection of wisdom. If it is convenient for you, you can find these explanations there. Everyone should take a look at the great treatise on the perfection of wisdom. The terminology used in the great treatise on the perfection of wisdom matches the Sutra of Great Liberation perfectly. This further leads me to believe that the Sutra of Great Liberation was indeed translated by Kumarajiva. This is because the 10 epithets mentioned here, if they had been translated by different translators, would likely involve different terminology, including the Sanskrit terms found within. The textual usage might not be the same, but if a single translator was responsible, he would know the 10 epithets of the Tathagata and maintain a consistent style throughout the translation. Furthermore, in the great treatise on the perfection of wisdom, the language used dates back to the Qin state. For instance, he explains what a term is in Sanskrit and what it corresponds to in the Qin language. He used many characters from the Qin state to represent them. Thus, this was also an early translation by Kumarajiva. You should also look into this matter. Now, the 7th name is Anuttara. Anuttara means the unsurpassed one. In Tibetan, it is Lahana Me Pa. His eyes of ethics, concentration, and wisdom are beyond equal or surpass. For this reason, the Buddha is called Anuttara, because the Buddha's training in ethics, concentration, and wisdom, and these eyes of ethics, concentration, and wisdom cannot be equaled. No one in the world possesses such qualities that can compare to the Buddha. Their wisdom and ethics simply cannot compare, nor can their meditative concentration, let alone surpassing him. If no one can even be compared to him, then surpassing the Buddha's ethics, concentration, and wisdom is impossible in this world. Therefore, he is called Anuttara. Anuttara means the unsurpassed one. There is nothing higher and nothing that can surpass him. Above the Buddha, there is nothing. This is called Anuttara or Lahana Mepa. Now, the 8th name is Tamer of Beings. The 8th one is defined like this. He liberates beings with great compassion, taming them with gentle and skillful means. For this reason, the Buddha is called Purusa Dhammya Sarati. Because of the Buddha's great compassion, he wishes to liberate all beings. When he liberates beings, he sometimes guides them with gentle speech and sometimes with virtuous speech. Sometimes he uses speech that evokes sorrow, and at other times he uses varied speech. He may even use forceful speech to guide them. Using various forms of language, he trains and tames them. Therefore, the Buddha is known by this name here. Purusa means man or heroic being. Dhammya Sarathi refers to taming and guiding. Thus, he is called the Tamer of Beings. The great treatise on the perfection of wisdom asks, why do we say Tamer of Beings and not specifically mention women? Generally speaking, a great man can manage the affairs of women in a household. By using the term great men or heroic beings, women are also naturally included. This is a very skillful use of language. Whether men or women, all can be liberated. The Buddha teaches using different languages according to the specific faculties of beings. We seem unable to do this effectively. A person might actually respond well to gentle language, but we might mistakenly use harsh speech instead. Conversely, another person might need forceful taming, but if we use only gentle language, they might become even more aggressive and beyond our control. Ordinary people like us lack this supreme ability to tame others. But the Buddha is different. He teaches according to the individual. Therefore, he is called Kyewo Dewa, Kalo Gyewa. In Tibetan, these two phrases are combined. In Tamer of Beings is Kyewo Dewa, Kalo Gyewa. He is the heroic being who tames and guides. This is why he is called Buddha. It is the 8th name. The 9th name is what we often call teacher of gods and humans. Possessing wisdom and being free from afflictions, the Buddha has wisdom and is without any afflictions. He teaches supreme liberation, not merely temporary relief. As for temporary relief, parents or sages might be able to provide that. Even doctors can provide temporary liberation from illness. But the Buddha himself is free from afflictions and possesses perfect wisdom. Thus, he can teach unsurpassed liberation to all beings. For this reason, he is called Devamanusasatha. In some texts, the syllable nam is included. Since the original transliteration consists of 5 characters, when Kumarajiva translated it, he used extra characters for clarity. You see, originally, Deva means gods, and Manusa means humans. Kumarajiva omitted the syllable nam here, so when translating, if there are extra characters, it is acceptable to reduce them slightly. For those of us who work in translation, it can be quite distressing at times, because the meaning simply won't fit the character count. What should we do? It seems that removing one character doesn't work, yet keeping it doesn't work either. You see, Kumarajiva removed some of them. There were originally 6 characters, but he removed 1. This is teacher of gods and humans. Why are there also spirits, Naga kings, and so on? So why do we only mention gods and humans? The great treatise on the perfection of wisdom also says that gods and humans, actually among all sentient beings, gods and humans constitute the majority. Also, those in the heavens are represented by gods, while humans are the masters of the earth, represented by humans. In this way, the other spirits and kinnaras are all included. Therefore, we can say it this way. So the Buddha is the great teacher of gods and humans. Why is this? Because he has no afflictions and he can teach the supreme liberation. Therefore, he is called teacher of gods and humans. Do any of us teach the supreme liberation? No, we don't. So we cannot be called teacher of gods and humans. But the Buddha can be called teacher of gods and humans. The last of the Buddha's 10 epithets is Buddha, Sangye. Just now it was Ladang Minam Ki Tonpa. In Tibetan it is like this. Now it's Buddha, and Buddha is called Sangye. The moving and unmoving of the 3 times, the exhausted and inexhaustible dharmas, all were known under the Bodhi tree. Regarding the Buddha, throughout the entire past, present, and future of the 3 times, the moving and unmoving, the dynamic and static worlds, moving refers to the sentient world, unmoving refers to the vessel world, also exhausted and inexhaustible, including dharmas that cease and dharmas that don't cease. Whatever exists in this world, permanent dharmas and impermanent dharmas, manifest dharmas and non-manifest dharmas, conditioned dharmas, unconditioned dharmas, and so on. All things and all dharmas of the 3 times, when the Buddha attained greater enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, all were as clear as an amalaka fruit placed in the palm of the hand. There's nothing he doesn't know, completely penetrating everything, completely unobstructed and greatly enlightened. Therefore he is called Buddha. Buddha means awakened one, self-awakened and awakening others. These were the Buddha's 10 epithets at that time. So from now on, these 10 epithets of the Buddha, if we add them in when it comes time for exams for each practitioner, explaining the general meaning would be acceptable, but perhaps not. We've already finished preparing the exam questions. Then they would explain according to their own understanding. If we haven't finished preparing, then we can add them in. But it's probably too late, right? Perhaps there's still time. I don't know. Because for the classes I teach, you all don't take exams on them. That's a bit, So people below also don't watch the classes I teach. But actually, this is also better. Don't give everyone too much pressure. A teacher who isn't strict doesn't put pressure on students. So at this time, the Buddhas of the 10 directions, because just now Prince Sundarananda and the 3,000 people were praising the Buddha in this way. The Buddhas of the 10 directions entered the samadhi of spiritual power, and they lifted their own bodies into the air. With one voice, they praised them in this way. How did they praise? You are the noble Prince, virtuous to see, Mahasattva. In Tibetan, it says Prince. Perhaps Prince is also better, but some say Great King, some say Mahasattva. But isn't Prince Virtuous to see even better? Prince Virtuous to see, and the 3,000 people, your sinful nature is not outside, not inside, and not in between. So at that time, the Buddhas of the 10 directions gave them such a direct pointing out that the nature of sin doesn't exist. Whatever killing, stealing, misconduct, or lying you've committed through greed, anger, and delusion, actually its nature is also not on the outside, not on the inside, and not in between. Since the mind is real, the power of virtue is real. Because the power of the mind is very strong, then the power of virtue is also very strong. If you realize this, then the power of virtue is immense. Because the mind is liberated, the mind has attained liberation. If there's no attachment, then the sinful nature will also be liberated. Because of the wisdom of emptiness, you've realized this, the wisdom that everything is of an empty nature. The sinful nature is also emptiness. Because of the power of faith, when the power of faith is very strong, then naturally the power of one's merit also begins to increase. If one can confess in this way, then one has already seen me. This indicates that such a person has truly seen me. The Buddhas of the 10 directions say, if you confess in this way, having already recognized the nature of mind like this, then you have all already seen us. The Buddhas of the 10 directions. You have also seen the past Prabhutaratna Tathagata and his emanations. Thus you are confessing and purifying negativities before them. And because you are always seeing me in this way, today, just like teaching these great bodhisattvas, to those who confess in this way, we Buddhas of the 10 directions, as well as our emanations, and Prabhutaratna Tathagata, who entered nirvana long ago. In the Lotus Sutra, there is an account of him. He is a Buddha from the East. Whenever any Buddha propagates the Lotus Sutra, he emerges from the earth to bear witness. There is such a story. Even the long-attained Prabhutaratna Tathagata rejoices. If we truly abide in such a nature and perform confession, indeed all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will also rejoice. There is a verse often recited in Chinese-speaking areas. There is such a verse. If we understand that sin arises dependent on the mind, and we confess with the mind, then the mind can cease. If the mind ceases, then sin will also perish. If this is the case, then all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will rejoice. The Buddhas of the 10 directions in the present, past, and future can be seen, offered to, and caused to rejoice. If we confess in this manner, then the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times will have received the supreme offering, attained the greatest joy. Through such Mahayana sutras, one can enter the great gate of Bodhi, because through the Sutra of Great Liberation, by using this extremely supreme skillful method to confess, this person will definitely enter the great gate of Bodhi. They have entered the path of accumulation and the Mahayana path, so this method is extremely supreme. I see that today, in this session, we taught a relatively high method of confession. The sinful nature cannot be found. It cannot be found outside, cannot be found inside, and cannot be found in between. Actually, for each of us, before realizing emptiness, reaching such a state is somewhat difficult, but at least theoretically everyone should contemplate it. In fact, if the true nature of our sin cannot be found, if that sinful nature is unobtainable, then the suffering it brings is also unobtainable. So this method of confession, the most supreme method of confession, today we should frequently contemplate it according to such a state. This is the best kind of offering to the Tathagata, and also the best kind of offering to the Guru, the best kind of offering to the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times. This is very good. So when we confess, just as taught in the Golden Light Sutra, if we abide in the nature of mind, actually this is a very good method of confession. Okay, today we will stop here.
Bandara Badna Sodargye Bandara Badna Sodargye Bandara Badna Sodargye